So these so far have been relatively straightforward, but we might have to also imagine how decisions are being made in much more complex situations, right? So how can we sort of aggregate up all the different incentives that we have when we are dealing with these sorts of really complex scenarios? So we're going to use something called economic surplus. So economic surplus is that difference between benefits and costs in any particular decision that we need to incorporate when we're trying to follow the cost benefit principle, right? When you're asking yourself, hey, are the benefits greater than the costs? You can also ask yourself, how big is the economic surplus, right? It's another way of asking yourself that question. And the thing about economic surplus is that it is a number. So in order to use it, we're going to need to convert all those various benefits and costs into some sort of numerical value. And I'll talk about how we can do that in a second. But let's start with just some basic math of this. So let's ask ourselves, what is the benefit to buying a jalapeno? Right, we go to the store, we're going to buy a jalapeno, maybe we're going to make some chili or something. And so what's the benefit to buying a jalapeno? Well, you get to have a jalapeno, you get to enjoy whatever it is that you're about to put that jalapeno in. What is the cost of a jalapeno? Well, the grocery store, a jalapeno costs about 20 cents. They're surprisingly cheap. So whatever else you would have spent that 20 cents on, you don't get to have. So how can we turn that into a calculation? How can we calculate the economic surplus that is associated with buying that jalapeno? Okay. So for that, we're going to need to have a number on buying a jalapeno. Like, look at this, right? We're comparing the benefit of buying a jalapeno to the benefit of the cost of 20 cents. There we go. So how can we do that, right? Buying a jalapeno is on a number. We need this to be a number in order to figure out what this is going to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask, how much value do I place on having a jalapeno? How much benefit do I get? So the sort of question that we're asking here is, we're asking you to convert. We're asking for a conversion of the sort of the satisfaction that you would get from having this jalapeno into some sort of dollar value, so that we can make that comparison, which sounds very abstract and very unrealistic. But it makes a lot more sense if you think about it this way, right? If you offered me a jalapeno or $3, right? Which one would I pick, right? Or let's say jalapeno or $2. Well, if I'd rather have the jalapeno than $2, if you were offering me $2 or jalapeno and I'd rather take the jalapeno, that tells you that I value having that jalapeno at more than $2, right? No, I'll still take the jalapeno. So we keep going. Okay, well, now I'm going to offer you a jalapeno or $3. Well, maybe I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll take the jalapeno. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll take the $3. If you offer me $3.50, I'll take the $3.50. So what does that tell us? That tells us that I value the jalapeno at more than $2.50 because I definitely took the jalapeno over the $2.50. I value it at less than $3.50 because I took the money over the jalapeno. And I was indifferent at $3. So saying that I value a jalapeno at $3 feels kind of strange to value an experience like that or value a satisfaction. But really all it's saying is that I would be indifferent between getting a jalapeno and getting $3. Those bring the same amount of satisfaction to me. I wouldn't be able to choose, right? They're sort of the same, which tells me how much I value it, right? Which allows us to convert it into a dollar number. Does that sort of journey make sense of us putting those dollar values on things? All right. So I want you to do that yourself, right? I want you to do that. So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine being offered a jalapeno, one jalapeno. Now, maybe you don't like spicy food. Maybe you don't like jalapenos at all. Maybe you love jalapenos. Maybe they're great and they're your favorite thing. And I want you to imagine that this is your only way in the world of getting a jalapeno. Forget what it costs at the store, right? We're not comparing the cost yet. We're just asking how much benefit it provides to you, okay? And I want you to imagine being offered that jalapeno or a certain amount of money, okay? And so now I want you to think to yourself, okay, imagine you're being offered a jalapeno or a penny, okay? Tell me out loud or in the chat, who's going to take the jalapeno over the penny?
I'll take the jalapeno.
Taking the jalapeno. I see lots of yeses. Great. Okay. the fact is, so for most of you, you took the jalapeno over the penny. That tells me that you value the jalapeno. You're going to get enough value out of that jalapeno that's more than a penny's worth of satisfaction. Okay. All right, let's up the number a little bit. Let's say that you're being offered a jalapeno or 50 cents. This is your only way of getting a jalapeno. You can't say, hey, I can get it cheaper at the store. I'll just go buy it at the store. That's not what we're doing right now. We're just asking if this was your only way of getting a jalapeno and you could either get the jalapeno or take 50 cents from somebody, which one of those would you pick? So tell me in the chat, write down either jalapeno or 50 cents. Which one are you going to take? All right, so it's a little bit more mixed here. Some people said jalapeno, some people said 50 cents, which is totally fine, right? So if you said 50 cents, that tells me that you get less than 50 cents of enjoyment out of having a jalapeno, right? Seem fair? All right. If you said jalapeno, that tells me that you get more than 50 cents of enjoyment out of getting a jalapeno, right? This also tells us that because pretty much everybody said they take the jalapeno at a penny, right? This also tells me that for every person, there's going to be some amount of money that I can offer you where that's sort of the tipping point, right? I offer you a penny, you take the jalapeno. I offer you 2 pennies, maybe you still take the jalapeno. 3 pennies, it keeps going up and up and up and up. And at some value, you're like, oh, that's the exact amount where I don't care, right? It's the same to me either way. 1 penny less, I'd take the jalapeno. 1 penny more, I'd take the money. But right there in the middle, that's my valuation of the jalapeno. So me saying that I value the jalapeno at $3 tells you that at $2.99, I'm taking the jalapeno. At $3.01, I'm taking the money. At $3 exactly, that's precisely how much I value. So I want you to think for a second. Think to yourself, what's the exact amount of satisfaction in dollar terms that you would get out of having a jalapeno? And put it in the chat for me. I see 30 cents. Awesome. Lots of great answers there. Can be anything. And remember, it doesn't necessarily have to do anything with how much the jalapeno actually costs at the store. Right? I said $3, which is way more than a jalapeno costs, right? But that's just because I like spicy food, right? And so I'm going to get way more enjoyment out of the jalapeno than I'm going to spend on, which is totally fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. The value I get from it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the actual cost at the store, okay? But that's how we can convert these sort of subjective experiences into dollar terms, which allows us to calculate the economic surplus, right? Yeah. Which this whole process tends to get confused with economists only caring about money, which isn't true. Actually, if you go into the real nitty gritty of the economic details, we don't convert it to money. We convert it into something weird called utils, which is not money. But that's neither here nor there. You don't have to worry about it. It's just a little thing of mine. Anyway, so we now know how to value our experiences, right? We think about what's the point at which we would be indifferent between getting the thing or getting the money. Based on this, we can calculate our economic surplus. So now we've converted the jalapeno part of the equation. So we got jalapeno. Ooh. Oh, where'd it go? There we go. We got jalapeno. That's misspelled. Peno minus 20 cents. Okay, well, now I value a jalapeno at $3. So really it's $3 minus 20 cents, which is $2.80. So what is that saying? That $2.80 is saying that I get $2.80 more enjoyment out of the jalapeno than it costs me, which sounds like a pretty good deal. Now, of course, this is not such a good deal if you don't value jalapenos very much, right? If you don't like spicy food and you only value a jalapeno at 10 cents or 1 cent or nothing, then this would not be a good deal for you, right? Which is fine. These valuations, the $3 here, completely subjective. It's different for everybody, right? Which makes sense because we are all making our own individual decisions. So of course it makes sense that our different preferences and tastes would show up as different valuations, okay? So that's how we can calculate the economic surplus associated with a particular option that we have, right? The option here is either we buy the jalapeno or we don't. Well, then, here's what we get. The benefits exceed the cost. The cost benefit principle says that we should buy this jalapeno. And so we do. So what we're looking for is situations that maximize the economic surplus. We don't just want to calculate the economic surplus of one option. We want to compare it to every other alternative that we possibly have. And once we figured out which of our options gives us not just benefits exceeding costs, but the benefits most exceeding the costs, the biggest economic surplus of all of our options, that is the thing that we should choose, right? And this is the basis on which people make decisions and how they choose between trade-offs. And you can also see how it's going to sneak in there, how we can change the way that people make decisions, right? Let's say that for some reason, I think that jalapenos are going to cause a mass health hazard or something like that. And I want people to eat less jalapenos. How can I do that? Well, I could try raising the price of jalapenos. It would incentivize fewer people to buy them. That'd be one thing I could do. I'm not sure how I could try to make people value jalapenos less, but I could try, so there's that. But it sort of shows you the levers that are there, right? If you want people to buy fewer jalapenos, you either have to make them less attractive, valued less, or you can raise the cost. You can try to make them more expensive. And there actually is going to be a way that we can make them valued less, which is by giving them better alternatives, right? So we've just been talking about jalapenos here. What if we, have other things that we could be buying instead? If we make those alternatives more attractive, then suddenly this one doesn't look so good compared to those others.